It's Mike again, folks, with Hills and Haulers Homesteading and Prepping. It's another video for the day because it's raining and I really don't have a lot I can do other than sit around and think things up. All right, so a looming question that a lot of people face in the event of an SHTF situation: bug out or bug in? And that means leave where you're at to seek shelter or safety elsewhere, or stay where you're at to remain safe and have the shelter that you currently have. Now, I've said in previous videos, and I'll tell you again, unless our home is unsafe to stay in, unless it becomes non-existent, aka no longer here, we're staying right where we're at, and we're going to continue to stay right where we're at until we cannot stay right where we're at. Now, if you look around your environment, look at things like the topography. Where do you live? Well, we live in an area that's rural. I've said that before. We have hills, we have hollers, we have woods, we have watersheds. Flooding exactly where we live is not a risk. And we being here on our home, right here at the place, right here at the homestead, flooding is not typically a risk because we are 1,200 feet in elevation. We are 300 feet in vertical elevation from the main roadbed, and probably an additional 25 to 50 feet in vertical elevation above the watershed. So we're probably 1,550 feet above the watershed. And the watershed's about 6-8 feet wide in most places, and anywhere from a couple inches to about 3 or 4 feet deep at the deepest. Now, of course, with the topography and geography around here, all that water has to go somewhere when it rains, and I've seen it flood significantly down through there. And like today, we've got flood warnings out because we're supposed to get like an inch, I think 1.5 inches to 3 inches of rain. So flood risks increases. Now, so flooding, we'll mark that off the list, because if we get into a flood risk where we live, it's biblical, and I think pretty much everybody's screwed at that point. Fires, forest fires, things like that, not usually a big thing in West Virginia. We do have some forest fires here and there, but not like you see out west and stuff. You know, we're a hardwood zone out here. We have patches and pockets of like pines and evergreens, but most of it is hardwood. And with having the 4 seasons where we have the deciduous, the leaves fall, and then we have the wetter winters and stuff like that, yeah, we do have a risk, and it can get high, especially when it gets really dry and we run through a little bit of drought-like conditions. But where our home is, where it sets, there is a huge buffer. Well, not a huge buffer, but there is an adequate buffer between actual standing woods and our home, and that being our meadow, our grass, our yard. So, you know, if a fire started below me, it's starting on my property. And there's big yards below it for my neighbors who are way down over the hill. So, like I said, I'm not real concerned about a fire here where we live, forest fires and stuff like that. Yes, I know that embers can fly and land on roofs and cause problems and stuff like that, but we could still stay here and be safe and probably help eliminate a lot of that risk and be right on the ball if you know, embers would start falling on our roof and stuff, because water hoses, garden hoses and stuff start soaking that roof down. So, you know, tornadoes are rare in West Virginia. They do occur, but very rare, and they're very short-lived because of the geography. You know, going back, what was it, the 50s, where they had the Shinston tornado. That was, I think that was the record, the most destructive tornado in West Virginia's history. And it was bad. I think F3, F4, if I'm not mistaken. So a lot of folks died from that. Now, of course, that was, you know, like I said, 40s, 50s when that happened. But anyways, so, you know, natural disaster risks here where we live at our physical place, not so bad, not so much to anything that would help me or make me want to have to leave our home. Now, like I said before, if our home is no longer standing, no longer inhabitable, then we would have to leave. At that point, you know, we do have additional property we can go seek shelter, make temporary shelter on. But as far as that goes, we have food stores, we have shelter, we have safety here, and physical security would be pretty easy because we have the advantage of height where we're at, where we're up on a hill. And we do have large trees. I mean, I can go right out and grab the chainsaw and start cutting trees down and just making a blockade if need be. But we'll hope it never comes to anything like that, and I'll not kind of go off the deep end with anything along those lines. But typically, so when you ask me bug out or bug in, I'm going to tell you bug in, unless there is an immediate physical threat right here that makes me want to leave our home. Now, others who live in areas where, if you live in a more city-like type environment, even in West Virginia, I mean, the cities like Morgantown or Charleston or Huntington, even get over like Martinsburg and the Panhandle, Wheeling, where the population densities are, things are going to change there. All of West Virginia is rural, and it's rural just based on the amount of people who live in the square mile. So it's still classified as rural. I think Morgantown once got urban designation back in the early 2000s, and I think they achieved that, and they did it only because of the students being present for at the university. So they did the big census drive at that one point as students were arriving to start school, and they had enough people be able to claim as citizens inhabiting or living in that area that would fulfill that urban classification. I don't think they've held it since then, so I don't know. But no other place in West Virginia would have that designation. But if you live in an apartment building, and just to say, and I don't think there's any real 30-story apartment buildings in the state of West Virginia, not that I'm aware of, but that doesn't mean that they don't exist. But if there was, say, you lived on a 30th floor of an apartment building in a city center or an urban environment, and something happened and people were evacuating the cities for whatever reason that they didn't feel safe, they felt that they needed to get out of the city, you have a choice to make, and that choice is are you able to stay safe where you're at? Are your food stores where you're at? Do you have enough stores to keep you safe? And if so, and you choose to hunker down, bug in, or shelter in place, whatever it may be, do you have the ability to stay safe while you're there? And that means typically in an apartment building, you've got one or two ways in or out, and that's it. And that's through your door or maybe a window. And, if you've got fire escapes leading out that you can get to a fire escape and get down on the external of the building, that's your other egress. And because you can egress, other folks can ingress, so they can come in that way as well. So are you able to provide enough physical security in a location like that to where you could stay safe and stay where you're at? Because as previously stated in many videos, regardless of the situation, the shit hitting the fan event that we're facing, ultimately people are going to be our biggest threat. Maybe not immediately, but soon thereafter. So bug out or bug in, I'm going to say bug in. Like I said, if I need to leave and get out of here, I have to have a destination, because again, you're a glorified refugee in your own area, because if you don't have another physical structure to go to or someplace that you can go to get shelter and safety and security, you're just a refugee. So leave? No, I'm not leaving. Our food stores are here, our safety is here, our security is here, all of our belongings are here. We'll hold out until we absolutely positively cannot at that point. So, simple question, bug out or bug in, what do you think? If you live in an area where you've got neighbors close enough, neighbors typically, now of course this is coming from a rural environment, rural area where we live, neighbors usually help take care of neighbors. And if something bad would happen, neighbors would be knocking on each other's doors. Hey, are you okay? Do you need anything? Can we help you do anything? What can we do? And that's just the nature of it. You get in a big urban center, big city center, and you may have that in your immediate vicinity in your apartment building, but outside of that, you're probably not going to have that humanity that we would typically have here, like in a rural setting. And not to say that everybody's a butthole in a city, but typically in those big urbanized environments like that, people are less trusting, more focused on themselves and getting out, getting safe, whatever they can do to get out of there, type of thing, and more self-preservation. But and it's just a mindset, it truly is. So all right, so tell me what you think. Leave us a comment, bug out or bug in, and why. Give us a like on the Facebook or on the YouTube page, please. Give us a like, leave us a comment there. Subscribe to the channel if this is content that you enjoy and like and are like-minded. Thank you, guys. Continue to prep. Take care, and God bless.